Alright, तो start करते हैं again Nicto के साथ. Then we move toward our WP scan, and then we move toward our scanners like this one. So you can use here. So, okay, let's start with the Nicto here. तो Nicto again आपको multiple चीजों के लिए टेस्ट करता है, including your brute force, including your directories, including your parameters, including your headers and all different things. उन सबके लिए आपका Nicto स्कैन करता है. साथ साथ आपके Nicto आपका OWASP प्रोटेक्ट अटैक्स के लिए भी स्कैन करता है. If you simply use this kind of option, आपके पास सारे options list out नहीं है. To see the list of options, you have to go with the manual page. Just go with the manual, man, and Nicto. चलते हैं साथ में. आपके पास अगर multiple options मिलते हैं, the first one is here. Just go with the tuning options here. You can scan for all these things at the same time. You can scan for file upload vulnerability. You can scan for file logs part, interesting files part, simple directory brute force ही है यहाँ पर. Again extra कुछ नहीं है. Simple directory brute force ही है वहाँ पर, right? Then simple misconfiguration was there, information disclosure, then injection part, RC parts, remote file retrieval part was also there. Again, you can try for all these things to your Nicto. Other than this, you can also try some mutate options here, which you have here. With the mutate option, you can try for like test all files with all root directories. Simple directory brute force. See again, have a guess for the password file. Simple. You can try for these things with the mutate option. Another option which you can use was a tuning option. So if you want to use all these things one by one, you just have to specify the numbers. Like number 0 will test for the file upload vulnerability, right? Or if you want to test all of them, let's say I want to exclude something. Let's say I just want to exclude the test for my DOS attack. In that case, I will simply use this particular X with my number 6. So I want to test for almost everything. Just exclude this denial of service. Just exclude the test for your DOS attack, right? Don't test for the DOS and search for everything. Just exclude the DOS and test for everything else we have here, right? You can use Nicto directly. And for the Nicto, you have to specify the target. And for the target, we generally use the specific option -host. You can use -host, or you can also use the -h for the host, right? For the host file. Other than this, if you simply go here, just go with the Nicto, go with -h, and then if you simply write to target name, let's say test PHP. Right? And if I simply press enter here, this will again test for different directories, different brute force part, different login part, file inclusion, some injection part. All the things will be tested by this Nicto here, right? But if you want to specify that you want to test for this specific vulnerability, you have to use these options here. Just go with Nicto -h for the target, but target was testphp.vulnerweb.com, and just after that you will go with tuning, right? And with the tuning you can go with the X6. But I just want to exclude the brute force attack, and just exclude the brute force and just exclude the denial of service cross attack, and then search for or test for almost all other things. आप सिंपल डोस को एक्सक्लूड कर रहे हो और बाकी सभी जगह आपको टेस्ट करना है यहाँ पर, एंड सिंपली प्रेस एंटर. Just take the host at the end. में ये दिक्कत बहुत है. -h sphp.vulnerweb.com. wrong. की स्पेलिंग को सही ना. मैं and then go with mutate and spelling will be fine. Hyphen tuning. Then we have the X. So fine. Perfect. So just because I'm using the lowercase t here, you have to be specific for these options. You always have to use the capital T for the tuning. Otherwise, you will get this error. For the small t, you got this error, right? So you have to be specific for these options here. So now, when it will test for almost everything, just accept the DOS attack, right? You can also test with the Nicto, which is again one of the most simplest tool which you can use, right? Other than this, in Kali Linux, we have the MSF Pro. We have the MSF Metasploit framework which you can use. In MSF, if I go with DB and go with the run, in the MSF we have different auxiliaries which you can use for the scanner part. Let's say if you want to perform any scan on any application or any service, let's say, like I want to scan, if I simply go with search HTTP, here we have a list of all the scanners and exploits and all other different things here. We have some payloads and we have some auxiliaries as well, which you can use for the scanning part. And all these things were available for the particular HTTP service, including some other things were also there, like simple DOS was there, multi-threading options were there, multiple things were also there, right, which you can test. But all of these results are for the particular HTTP service or for your websites, you can say. You can also use this kind of scanners for the vulnerability part, right? Other than this MSF Venom, the MSF particular framework, you can also try the Nmap. With the Nmap, you have a script option which you can use hyphen script and then go with the vuln category that I want to execute all the scripts for my vuln category here. Or if you want, you can simply go with the HTTP service specifically. Let's go with HTTP and go with the tar as wildcard character. Then specify your target. My target was testphp.vulnerweb.com, right? It will execute all the HTTP scripts for this particular domain here and give me the result. If there is any vulnerability on this weakness on this particular website, it can be identified by the Nmap. I will got that weakness here in the results. Right? You can also use the scripts with the Nmap. You can also use the auxiliaries in the MSF Metasploit framework. Or if you want to use, you can also use the Pro version. You can also use the Pro version for the Metasploit framework, in which we have a better web vulnerability scanner. We will cover up that part here in the Windows. You can also use that part in Linux as well. If you simply go here and search for MSF Pro, you can just download this one for Linux as well. Go with accept, go with the temp mail says, like temp mail, temp-mail.org. Your temporary email address. Let's fill out these basic things like ABCD as name, DFGH, email address. Just copy the email address from here and you can paste that email address on the email part. Company name, I'm going with REVUTAP. Phone number, go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 times 8. Business type, I'm going with professional. You can go with anything again. There is no such limitation, right? They will simply verify your email address and they will send the trial license key on your email. Just wait for the trial license here. On the other hand, you can easily download this Metasploit framework for your Windows as well as your Linux, right? With the MSF Pro, you can use this one for the with help of terminal. You can use Metasploit framework, the Pro version on the terminal as well as with the web interface, like through your browser. Right? If you want to use the MSF Pro with the terminal, you can use. Otherwise, you can also use that MSF Pro through your browsers with the proper web interface. Let's go with the Linux here. Let's download our file. Just save this file. It will take some time, right? On the other hand, you can also use the WP scanner as a vulnerability scanner, but this was specifically designed for your WordPress website. Let's say if you have developed your website with the help of WordPress plugin or any kind of WordPress feature you are using in your website, that vulnerability for the WordPress plugin to any kind of website was developed through the WordPress can be identified through this WP scan, right? If I go with simplest example, let's go with like WP scan. I'm not sure like this test PHP was running WordPress or not, but we can give it a try. Like test like WP scan, we have to specify the URL with this option hyphen URL. If you go with the help page here, hyphen help, you'll get a list of all the options which you can use for WP scan, right? And the most common and the most simplest option which you generally use was this particular hyphen URL to specify our target address, the target name you can say, right? Just go with this option here, WP scan hyphen URL, and then go with the target address as HTTP colon slash slash. Here you have to specify the complete URL with the HTTPS or the HTTP. If you forgot to specify this one, you will get the error. testphp.vulnerweb.com. We'll simply update the database. Just wait for a second. And we got the error. The remote host website is up, but doesn't seem to be running WordPress. Okay, it means this website is not running WordPress. All right, let's give it a try for other website. Let's go with magma.co.in. Let's check for this one. Now it's working. So in the older version, you cannot use this name directly. You have to specify the HTTP. But nowadays, it works fine. We can specify the name without HTTP or HTTPS part, right? So in the latest version, you can use this directly. Now, we got some plugins, like we got some details about the plugins which are running on the background, and we got basic details about those plugins. Like we have a header, interesting entries, server header was there, X powered by, and the access control was also there, right? We got the values for XML RPC seems to be enabled. If this service, if you are not properly handling the request, if you are not properly handling the post request for this XML RPC service, it can easily leads to a brute force attack. Not to the brute force, it can easily leads to a DOS attack for your complete website, right? So you have to handle the post request properly for this XML RPC service, right? Otherwise, you can easily perform those attacks on these kind of services for the web pages, right? So simply copy here. If I simply copy this link, let's open this link directly in our browser. You can see generally this particular service only accept the post request, right? But if those post requests are not properly handled, this can lead up to those attack to your website, and you can easily perform those attacks. You can easily perform those attacks through any tool, like even your ping can perform the DOS attack, right? And easily to the ping command, you can easily down your website, right? If you're not properly handling the post request for your XML RPC. Now, other than this, there are some other headers as well which you can go with, right? And you can enumerate about these headers. But the important part is you need to know how and why we use this header, the basic functionality for these headers, right? So, other than this Nikto and WP scan here, now let's move toward our MSF Pro here, right? I got the file for the MSF Pro Metasploit Framework Pro version. Let's go with the terminal on this particular directory here, like downloads. Okay, let's close this. Let's minimize this whole tab here. Let's minimize this one as well, and let's execute this Metasploit Pro version here. So for the execution, just because this was the run file, just because this was the run file here, you can see like Metasploit installer this and that dot run. So the run file. So you can directly execute this file, but before that you can specify the, you can search for the permission, like do we have the permission for execution or not, but we don't have the permission. So you have to assign the permission. Just go with chmod +x and then Metasploit table Linux and this and that and press enter. Now we have the permission for this particular file, right? And if you have the permission, you can easily execute this run file with a simple sudo /metasploit latest linux x64 installer.run. Let's execute this file. Go with the password, and this will give you the basic installer for the Metasploitable Pro version. You have the same steps for installation. For installation, we have the same steps in our Windows and in our Linux. If I install this same file in our Windows, I have the downloaded file here. Just go with the downloads. In downloads, I have the same installer file here. Let's open this one. Go with the yes. And just wait here for Metasploitable Pro version. You can easily install this Metasploitable Pro version in the Windows as well as in your Linux, right? Just go with the next. It's a basic welcome message here. Accept this one. I accept the agreement. Go with the next. Again, where you want to install the proper location. Go with the next, and you can go with the next again. Disable antivirus and firewall. To work with the Metasploitable Pro version, you have to disable the antivirus and firewall in Windows, right? But in Linux, you don't have any kind of conditions. Just go with the next, and then go with the port number for the SSL port. We have 3790. Okay, just go with the next, and go with the server name as localhost, days of validity 3650. Yes, trust the certificate, and go with next. This will simply install the certificate into my machine. You go with the next and install. Simple. Just follow next a few times, and then you can easily install the Metaflow Pro version. The same steps you have to follow in your Linux as well. Okay, but the point is, if I'm using this black dark theme, that's why I can't see the text here. But the point is, you can easily forward, and then you can forward again. Go with the location, forward, yes, and forward. Then you can install this Metaflow Pro version easily, right? Go with the localhost, go with the name, days of validity, and forward again, and it will start the installer for you, right? After installing the MSF Pro, you can easily control this Pro version through your browser. You don't have to control this all the time through your terminal. But if you want, you can control this MSF Pro through your terminal. So, or generally, for like normal community edition for the MSF framework, we generally use MSF. For the Metaflow framework free version, we use the MSF. But for the Pro version, we generally use MSF Pro. For the professional version, we generally use the MSF Pro, right? So you just have to use this Pro version. You just have to use this Pro name here, and that's all. And that's all. You will get some extra additional functionality, like a vulnerability scanner was there, which you can use for the proper testing purpose. To identify the weakness in your websites, you can use the Pro version. Other than this MSF Pro, let me install some other softwares here as well in the Windows. So I'll be installing my Nessus here because I haven't installed it yet. Let's install the Nessus. I have already downloaded the file. For downloading, you can just visit the website like www.teenable.com/product/Nessus, right? And you can just easily go with the professional version here. Go with the professional, go with the trial, and let me refresh this web page. Okay, now click on the try. You have to fill this simple form. Just pass your email address, or you can use this temporary email addresses as well. Right? Just use this temporary email addresses, and this will give you all the emails. This was my email, and these are the emails which I have received. Right? So again, go with the professional version. Pass your email. I haven't received the email from the Nessus here. Let's go with the copy this email address and let's fill the form. Name as ABCD, EFGH, business email, this one, phone number 12345678910. Just go with the 10 times 8. You can use any mobile number, it's again your choice. Title as I'm going with HR, company name as blah, blah, blah. Company size, go with anything here, doesn't matter. And go with start. Again, they will send you the license key. They will send you the license like Qualys. Qualys will simply send you the login ID and password, right? And with the URL through which you can access the cloud platform. So simply go with the trial version here. There are the two options here. Like you can go with the remote endpoint protection part, all these things, or you can try this one for the cloud platform. Let's just go with the cloud platform here and just go with this basic form. Just pass your temporary email address and then you can go with the next and they will send you an email with your username and password like this one. First, they will send you a basic invite email here. Then they will send you the email with your username and password. This was your email which I have received to my username and password. This particular email, we have this value, like we have the username. This was my username. Let's copy this one and let's turn on the history as well. Turn on the history and now it's so we got the username. Let's copy this OTP code because we have to enter the OTP code when we click on this access the password part, right? Let's open this password here. Just pass your OTP, validate activation OTP. Just go with OTP and click on submit. We got an error like OTP is expired, no longer valid. Not a problem. Just click on the resend and they will again send you an email with the new OTP. Just go back and wait for the new mail. Wait for a new email. We got the new email with the new account activation code. Just open this one. Again, we are the same username here. The password or the OTP you can say has been changed. Just copy the OTP, open this link, and pass your OTP here, right? Click on submit, and they will take you to the particular website which will show you your password. This was your password. Just copy this password and paste this one here, right? On the user tab, I will go with my username as this one, and let's click on save. Now my username and passwords are saved. I can only access my cloud platform through this particular URL, qualisguard.qg3.apps.qualis.com. You have to highlight, you have to store, you have to bookmark this URL somewhere. Just open this website and bookmark this one, right? Because you can only use your username and password on this particular region here, GQ3, right? So just go with the login here to access your account. For the Qualys, they will take something around like 20-30 minutes to send you these kind of emails for the username and password. It will take around like 20-30 minutes for the OTP and for the password, right? So you have to wait. So we got access to our account here. On the other hand, my MSF Pro version has been installed. It's still installed. All right. And on the Kali Linux, it's still installed. All right. Okay, it's still installing. All right. So in the Windows, this has been installed here. Let's go with the finish, or you can say like access Metasploit web UI. If you want to access the Metasploit with Pro version through the web UI, you can. Otherwise, you can just go with uncheck and then click on the finish. But I want to control MSF Pro with my web UI. Just go with this check and click on the finish. It will again open you. You click. This will simply give you a link. Just keep that link in mind. Keep that address in your mind. The address was localhost at the rate localhost colon 3790. This was the port number where your MSF Pro works. Just open this link here. Go with advanced. Go with continue, and here we go. This was your MSF Pro version. Just go with this basic forms again to create a new user, right? Just go with the username. I'm going with root, password as root, and root again. Full name, I'm going with root, email address, root at the rate gmail. Doesn't matter, you can go with any values here. Organization, blah blah blah, right? Time zone, you can go with any time zone here. I'm going with 5:30 New Delhi, and just create an account. Okay, minimum of 8. Let's go with root and root, root and root. Now let's create an account. Okay, root at the rate 0001. Root at the rate 0001. Contain your username. Please के अलग ही सेटअप दिया. Just go with anything like I'm going with MSF Pro at the rate 001. MSF Pro at the rate 001. This was my username and password. This was my password here, right? Let's go with create account. Password must not be a common password. All right, let's go with something else. Let's go with the Babu Bhai. @001। ये कॉमन नहीं है, बिल्कुल कॉमन नहीं है ये। जस्ट वेरीफाई कि पासवर्ड दोनों सेम हो, बिकॉज मैं 4 बार एंटर कर चुका हूँ। आई डोंट वांट टू एंटर दिस 5th टाइम। Just create a password, create an account, and here we go. Now you have to enter the license key which you have received, right? आपको license की यहाँ email के through receive हुई है. Just go with the emails here and here are the emails. ठीक है, अभी 2 मिनट पहले यहाँ पर प्रॉपर मेरी emails थे कॉलेज की तरफ से। हाँ, here we go. So we got the license key here, rapid cell metasploitable pro license and this and that. इसे करते हैं open and this will contain your license key. Just copy this license text and you can paste this one here, right? And just activate your license. If you want to add some proxy, you can also add some proxies here. वो अलग काम करेगी। आप जो सिंपल प्रॉक्सी कॉन्फ़िगर करते हो आपके ब्राउजर पे या फिर आपकी मशीन पे, वो अलग है और ये प्रॉक्सी बिल्कुल अलग तरीके से काम करने वाली है। बट आई डोंट वांट टू ऐड द प्रॉक्सी। सिंपल चलते हैं अभी विदाउट प्रॉक्सी के पास। लेट्स गो एक्टिवेट लाइसेंस एंड दिस यू विल गेट एक्सेस टू एमएसएफ प्रो फॉर लाइक 2 वीक्स, राइट? सिंपल 2 हफ्ते का ही टाइम है हमारे पास यहाँ। ट्रायल वर्जन 2 हफ्ते का ही है एमएसएफ प्रो के अंदर। So you can go with simple all these tests here. You can go with phishing campaign, you can go with quick pen test part, you can go with web application testing part and vulnerability verification part as well. Now all we want is the web application test. Let's go with this one here. Just go with the project name. I'm going with like tests. Go with the target URL. I'm going with target as testphp.vulnerweb.com, right? And you can specify these things as well, like maximum page to request per URL. You guys increase or decrease this one. It's again your choice. How much request you want to send, right? Time limit we have and the concurrent request per URL we have here. Now you can go with the authentication part. If you have any authentication for this web page, like I have, username was test, password was test, right? And then you can click on this find vulnerability part, like how much concurrent request part was there, time limit part was also there. If you want, you can increase this one or decrease this one, right? With these rollers here, right? Other than this, don't go with 30. Let's go with 10 minutes. That's sufficient. Then go with vulnerability part, right? Again, same thing was also there. And then we have the report of what things you want to include in your report. Let's say I just want to download my report with a name like test hyphen report hyphen what's the date today, like 05 hyphen June hyphen 2021, right? My report will be downloaded with this particular name here, and all these things will be included in my particular report. After this part, you can just start your scan, right? You will start your scan with help of auxiliaries. Again, in the background, it's going to use all the auxiliaries for your HTTP for different things, but it will take help from your auxiliaries, right? And if you want, you can also use your auxiliaries directly. You can also use your auxiliaries directly, right? We have the same thing here in the Linux. Just follow the same steps. You don't have to follow a single different step. Steps were exactly same, right? You got the license here. Just pass this particular license key for the MSF Pro. The license key was different. Again, you can keep on using this MSF Pro, right? You just have to generate a new license key and then you can use this one for like 2 weeks easily. After 2 weeks, again, generate a new link, new license, and then again use it, right? So you can use this way. Other than this, if I go with some other scanners as well, like we have here, one of them was your Nessus. So let's go with the basic installation for your Nessus first. So for Nessus, I have the installer file. You can download the installer file from this download page for the Nessus here. This was your download page for Nessus. Here I want to download my file for like 64-bit Windows operating system. We have here, right? Just go with 64 if you want down. If you are using 32-bit architecture, you can also go with 32-bit file here, right? But I'm using 64-bit, so I will download this file, and I have already downloaded this file here. was your latest version 8.14.0-64.msi. Just execute this one and let's install our Nessus. Okay, just click on next few times, next, accept, again next, again next, again install. Now, on the other hand, we want a license key for your Nessus, which I haven't received yet. Okay. And we got the license key here, right? Just open this email and you can activate your worksuit. You can activate your Nessus from this particular link. Just activate this one. Okay. You can go with your email addresses. I forgot the email. You can just copy the email address from here. Copy and email address, this one, and password as the same. Just go with login, wrong email or password, create an account. When you click on the activate your account, it gives you a different enable login. Okay. Generally, when you click on this activate your account part, this will take you to the password part. Like you just have to create your password and this will automatically take you to the dashboard for that account. You don't have to create the account and all the different things. But here we can go with forgot password part and just pass your email address. They will send an email to reset your password. Just send an email and let's wait for the email. Back to list and just wait for the license. Just wait for the email. We got the just reset your password with this request. Create a new password. I'm going with the same email address as my password here. Just go with next. Password reset successful. Now, hey, let's save this one here. Let's log in. And just wait a second. This will give you the license keys here. Otherwise, you can go with this link here. Just go back. We have our license keys here. Like I have two of them, but if you want, you can use some other one as well, right? Okay, we have two different license keys. You can use any of them. So I have generated two different requests for the same email address, right? So now we have the license key. Just copy this license code, and now let's move toward the installation. My installation has been finished here. Let's go with the finish, and this will give you again a web page. Let's continue with the SSL part. Go with advanced and accept that link. Accept that connection error part, right? Continue with localhost as unsafe. I have the license key for the Pro version. This was the license key for my Nessus Pro, right? Not for the free version, but for the essential part. I have the license for my Nessus Pro. Just go with the professional and go with the continue. Then enter your license text and again continue here. Create a username. I'm going with username as root, password as root, right? Both the things are root and root. You can go with any password again. You can use your own name as username and you can use your surname as your password. Again, you can do these things. Go with next and submit these forms. All right. This will take around like 10 or 15 minutes to configure this Nessus there, right? In the meantime, let's close all these extra tabs from here. Let's close this MSF Pro welcome part, and we have the vulnerability scanner. Okay, we'll cover up this one, and we have the Qualish. We have T-enable. Let's close this one. Register. Close this one, and free trial for Qualish. Let's close this one as well. All right. Now we have these 5 or 6 basic tabs here. Now let's go with our Qualish because I have already registered here. Right? I am logged in here. Now you have to pass your contact number. I'm going with 10 times 8 again. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then again go with some other important fields. I'm going with zip code as 1110. Again, you can go with anything here. I don't know it's valid or not, but you can give it a try. Address code as blah blah blah, and go with X3 and click on IIT path. If you got error, you can just change this thing. These vulnerability scanners will help you in identifying all the common weakness. Like let's say if you want to automate your web vulnerability scanners, like you want to automate your SQL injection, you want to automate your access detection part, all these kind of things can be automated through these vulnerability scanners. They will help you in quickly identifying your vulnerabilities on your particular target. Right? After identifying the vulnerability from these scanners, you have to verify your vulnerability all the time before submitting, before reporting the vulnerability to the actual owner, to the actual developer. First, verify that vulnerability by yourself, right? But you can get some hints, you can get some assumptions, you can get some like आपको कुछ तो आइडिया मिल जाता है यहाँ पर स्कैनर से, तो हेल्प बहुत मिलती है स्कैनर से, right? You just go with the password, just change your password. I'm going with the same password like before, and what's the password I forgot? I just chose my password here. Let's go with this one again as my password. My password has been changed. Now we have to log in here. Let's re-log in. Let's log in. In the Qualys, we don't have a single scanner here. You can use multiple scanners for like multiple other things. Like you have some compliance scanners as well. We have some network scanner. We have some cloud scanner part. We have the IoT API testing part as well. We have the web application testing part as well. We have different scanners for different products, right? But today we will only cover our web application scanners and the basic part for that scanner. Because if I start covering all the things for the scanner, we need 2-3 sessions. This Qualys only and only for the Qualys, right? But again, you can cover up these things by yourself. It's completely web based. You don't have to write a single command here, right? Just go with the, if you are focused on the websites, just go with this VMDR here and select your websites, web application scanning part. Open this one and this will take you to the platform for your web application. Again, Nessus can also be used for different things. Your MSF Pro can also be used for different other things, right? And your Qualys is again one of the most popular scanners. You have Nessus, Qualys, MSF Pro. You can also use Equinetics as well. But for Equinetics, you need to download the crack version. And I don't suggest you guys to download the crack version. Just limit yourself to this kind of free trial version. And if you are more interested in the scanner, just buy one. And after buying these things, just share the code with me. So I can also use that part, right? So this was your basic dashboard for your web application scanners, right? Just go with the scans here, and this was your basic scan part. Before starting a scan, you have to add a target. Before starting any scan, you have to move towards your target first. You have to add a target here, right? And targets can be added through this web application part here, right? First specify your targets, and then you can go with the scan tab out there. So let's add a target first. Go with your new web application. Just open this one and go with these basic things, right? Just go with the blank. If you already have a target and you want to modify that one, you can go with this existing part But if you're adding a new target, then go with this blank, right? Just go with the blank and then go with all these things one by one. Like we have the crawling option, we have scanning option, we have like the redundant links here, we have some authentication link, we have some exclusion part. Again, we have tons of thing out there for malware monitoring, commands, advanced options were also there, application details were also there. You can try these things by yourself, right? So simply, let's go with the name as like I'm going with my first scan. First scan. Go with your name. Specify your target here. I'm going with this test PHP. vulnerweb.com. Specify your target. If you want to add some custom attributes, you can. If you want to add some tags, you can add. Otherwise, just go with the continue. Here we have the basic details for your scan part. Like you want some scrolling option, how much you want to crawl. Like you want to limit your crawling for the subdomains, host part, and the different things are also there, right? If you want to exclude any subdomain from the scanning, from the crawling, if you want to exclude any directory from the crawling, you can exclude these values here, right? Then again, go with the continue and then go with the basic scan of like what kind of scan you want to perform. Let's say I want to perform some web application scanning part, initial WASH, we call it. Initial web application scanning options we have here, right? Just go with initial WASH, or if you just want to test your authentication, like your username and password check part, then you can go with initial, and you can go with authentication test here, right? But you can select out of these two. Just scan these things here. I'm going with initial WASP options. And then you can also add some scanner. Let's say if you have any scanner installed in your device, then you can go with individual scanners, or otherwise you can go with some tags here, scanner pools. Otherwise, you can go with external scanner. If you're using the cloud version, if you are using the cloud version, then you have to go with the external scanners all the time. But if you have installed in your device, then you can go with the individual scanners and your tags as well, right? Otherwise, always go with the externals here. Then go with the next, and we have the basic crawling scripts here. And for the crawling part, we generally use Selenium scripts, which are similarly like some Python script and Ruby scripts. They were similar to your Selenium script, but they were specifically written for your crawling part, right? Again, if you want, you can add some crawling scripts here. Otherwise, just go with the next again. Then we have redundant link. Let's say like we have same web pages, but for different languages. They have same functionalities, but they were written for the different languages. Like one page was written for the .in. Like let's say you have a domain with the name abc.com, right? You are creating multiple same pages, but for different country codes. Like .in was there, .us was there, .rb was there, .pk was there, right? You are just changing the language, but the productivity, the functions, and all the functions on the background were exactly same. You are just changing the links, right? And let's say you have multiple domains, you have multiple web pages with the same functionality, right? Even then you can add those redundant links here. If you have multiple, if you have two or more than two web pages with the same functionality, then you can specify them here if you want to exclude them, right? Now, other than this redundant link, now you can move toward authentication part. If your website contains any kind of authentication, then you can add your username and password here. Just go with create, and then you can add some basic form records. Just go with the name as like uname and password. Then you can go with the continue, and then you can go with these forms here. Like I want a standard login form, username, password, and confirm password part. Right? You can others go with the custom forms as well. You can add some scripts as well. Again, it's your choice. But you can also use some authentication checks here, right? Other than this authentication part, if I go back, after authentication, we have some exclusion. If you want to exclude any domain, if you want to exclude any website, if you want to, let's say you for the abc.com, right? You have some extra directories which you want to exclude. For that exclusion, you can go with this particular exclude options here. Like I don't want to test this particular directory. I don't want to test the slash admin page, right? For that part, you can add some exclusions here directly. Just go with the URLs and specify your URL which you want to exclude here, right? Again, you can go with this exclusion as well. Otherwise, after this part, let's go with the next here as advanced options. Like we have the basic records out there. If you have your own custom private DNS records, then you can add your private DNS records here. Like for the what we call that. For shared hosting, generally we have the private DNS records. All the requests for multiple domains were sent to the same web server, right? But the web server will handle those requests for different domains by their own private DNS, right? If you have any private DNS and you want to test your server for multiple websites, then you have to add your private DNS records here, right? So that your scanners on the cloud can access your websites specifically for your websites, right? You can also add your private DNS records here. Other than this, there's some malware scanners here. If you want to use them, just go with enable and they will automatically test your scanners. Like when you want to test monthly, daily, weekly, and all different things are also there, right? You can go with these malware scanners as well. After these malware scanners, just go with the comment part. Like if you want to add some comment, just go with the comment and then go with the continue and just review your settings and click on finish. If you want to start the scan at the same time, just go with finish and start scan. And if you just want to save the records as your target, just go with the finish. But let's say I want to start the scan, right? Just go with finish and scan. And there's some other options as well for the scanning, like what kind of scan you want to perform. Let's say you just want to crawl here, you are just focused on auditing your website, just identify your weakness. If you are trying to identify the vulnerability of your website, just go with the vulnerability part. And if you're just scrolling your website, just go with the discovery part here, right? Right now, I'm going with the vulnerability here just to identify the common weakness in my website. So this was your basic options for your scanners here. Just go with the scan name. I'm going with scan name as like my first scan, right? And then you can go with some targets here. You specify your target and you can choose from this drop down options here. Sorry, just choose your target. By default we already have a target here. If you don't want to choose here, right? And then click on continue. Then we have basic scan options, like what kind of scan you want to perform. By default it will go with your default options for your scanner, for your profile. Let's say while adding our target, we have selected our initial WAS option as a default option, right? So automatically it will goes with your default, but if you want to change, you can also change from here. So you don't have to add your target all the time, right? Let's say if we don't have all these options available here, like if we can't scan for authentication, you can just by adding a target, you can also scan for authentication as well as you can also scan for initial WAS option. But by adding a target, we have the same option that was used to choose your default options out of them, right? And I have selected this one, initial web application security options, as my default option, default scanning profile, right? If you want to change, you can also change your default profile from the same web portal. Otherwise, you can go with the default here. Then if you have any authentication records, then you can select from this drop down options here. Then you have basic scanner option and then basic DNS and cancel or notification options out there. Like let's say you want to cancel this scan after 1 hour, after this time, after this particular activity. You can scan, you can cancel your scan at this location, right? Cancel scan after, let's say, like I want to cancel my scan after 5 hours, right? Then you can cancel your scan after 5 hours. So let's say if you want to receive an email notification, you can get an email notification, right? From this Qualish to your particular email address. So if you want to go with this one, you can use this one as well, right? And then go with continue. Just review your setting and start your first scanner. Again, my scan has been launched. Just go with your scan tab here and it will show you your scan here, right? Scan was submitted and within few seconds, your scan will be activated, right? This was your basic Qualish. How you can create your scan, how you can create your targets, how you can add your targets from this web applications here, right? You can add multiple targets and you can also import your targets as well. Other than this, you can also scan your websites and all the detections will be available here in this particular detection tab here. Reports will be available here and basic configuration will be available here, right? Now, if you want to modify them, you can modify them. Otherwise, you just go with the default, right? If you want to create a new profile, you can also create a new profile for all these things. For appliances, DNS, parameters, and search and brute force part as well. We have options there, right? You can modify this. and it's completely web-based interface. You can easily modify and you can easily try this thing. Other than this Qualys, you can also move toward the Nessus here. It's still compiling my resources. It will take around like more 10 more minutes maybe. I'm not sure. In the meantime, let's go with our one more vulnerability scanner. That was your crash test. In the crash test, we have a basic condition here. If you own the domain, you can test for the vulnerabilities. But if you don't own the domain, you can only test for the basic things. Like you can only test for the open ports, the open services, like simple available directory brute force parties. Basic thing can only be test to your crash test if you don't own the domain, right? Just go with the free trial part here and then write some and then just pass some credential like simple username and password thing to out there. Just go with your email address. This was my email address. So you can copy this one from here. Just copy this one and you can add it here, right? After this part, just go with next step. Just go with the first name. I'm going with A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, and H is my last name, and next. Password, I'm going with the same as my name. So you have to add a capital letter as well. I'm just changing the capital M, right? I have just replaced the small m at the end with the capital M, and that's all. Go with the next. Go with any country code, doesn't matter. Just go with the phone number as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and just go with finish. Just add your username and password here and save them. Go to login, and they will send a confirmation mail to your temporary email address here. Just wait. We got our activation link here. Just activate your account, open that link, and it contains the activation mail here, right? Now, we have a vulnerability here. We have a common vulnerability. For the crash test, they also have a vulnerability here. The vulnerability was, if we copy this link here, just copy link location and open a notepad. I'm not sure they have fixed or not, but like before 1 month maybe, they have this vulnerability. This was the basic link, right? This was the basic link here. We have the activation part, there's some basic values. We have the email, source email, crash test, this and that, and we have this basic activation code here, right? Now, if you again, if you again send one more activation link with a different email address, only this particular value will be changed, right? All other values will remain exactly same. This one, crash test, security, stood, everything will remain same. Only this particular value will change. This was the modified portion. This was the modified portion. In the old activation link, they also have their email addresses here. They also add their email addresses here. Like the email address for me was this one. This was my email address, right? Generally, they add my email address here with the authentication token, with the activation token, right? If you have email address in your activation link, in that case, what you can do is you can just generate one more activation link for one more temporary email address. Just copy the link same way and place it just after below, just after this particular link. Let's say we have the same activation link. Let me copy this one and let's place this one here, right? Let's say this was the confirmation mail for my particular account like 20001. We have different email addresses here this time, right? If you have two different activation link, if you have two different activation link for two different email addresses, what you can do, you can simply try to activate this particular email with the token here. If you are able to activate this email address with this token, this was a vulnerability, this was a weakness, right? This was a weakness because your authentication token or you can talk or your token here, activation token, was not linked with your email address here. That's why you can use any email address with that specific token. and you can activate any email address in the globe without anything. आपको कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए, आपको सिर्फ ईमेल एड्रेस पता होना चाहिए बस। आपको सिर्फ टोकन उठाना है, कैसे सारा टोकन। तो मान लो मुझे ईमेल एड्रेस मिला, मान लीजिए मैंने लिंक जनरेट किया टेम्परेरी ईमेल एड्रेस के लिए, ठीक है। मैंने एक और लिंक जनरेट किया फॉर माय पर्टिकुलर, लेट्स से मैं सिंपल करता हूं यहाँ पे अगेन वापस, लेट्स गो विद द एंड। लेट्स से मैंने एक और लिंक जनरेट किया फॉर माय ईमेल एड्रेस एज लाइक लेट्स गो विद समथिंग एनीथिंग, लेट्स गो विद admin@facebook.com, ठीक है। अगेन सेम लिंक इस ईमेल के ऊपर भी जाएगा, और श्योर है वो चीज तो, राइट। अगर आपका टोकन लिंक नहीं है आपके ईमेल एड्रेस से, इन दैट केस आपको सिर्फ ये ईमेल एड्रेस यहाँ पर रिप्लेस करना है, एंड दैट्स ऑल। आपको सिर्फ ये admin@facebook यहाँ पर रिप्लेस करना है इस ईमेल के साथ में, एंड देन यू विल इजीली एक्टिवेट द अकाउंट फॉर दिस admin@facebook.com। आपका अकाउंट ऑटोमेटिक यहाँ पर वेरीफाई हो जाएगा, बिकॉज आपके टोकन के अंदर कोई भी लिंक नहीं है आपके ईमेल एड्रेस के साथ, राइट। और अगर लिंक नहीं है देन यू कैन इजीली एक्टिवेट एनी ईमेल एड्रेस, राइट। तो टोकन्स भी हमेशा आपके ईमेल के साथ लिंक होने चाहिए, वो भी एक इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है, राइट। इन द ओल्ड वर्जन तो पहले आपके एक्टिवेशन लिंक आते थे क्रैश टेस्ट के, उसमें आपका ईमेल एड्रेस ऐसे मिलता था आपको, लाइक दिस वन हियर, राइट। एंड यू कैन इजीली चेंज दिस ईमेल एड्रेस विद द ओल्ड वन विद एनी ईमेल एड्रेस। अगेन आप अगर कुछ भी यूज करो, admin@gmail.com कुछ भी डाल दो, अगेन डजंट मैटर, आप वहाँ पर इजीली किसी का भी ईमेल एड्रेस को यूज कर पाते थे, एंड यू कैन इजीली वेरीफाई योर आइडेंटिटी। और ये तरीका अभी भी बहुत सी जगह चलता है, यू ऑल्सो हैव टू टेस्ट फॉर दीज थिंग्स। आपका एक्टिवेशन लिंक भी बहुत बार आपके काम आता है, राइट। सो यू हैव टू टेस्ट फॉर एक्टिवेशन लिंक एज वेल, राइट। एक और चीज, लेट्स से आपने सेम ही ईमेल के लिए आपने पुराना एक्टिवेशन लिंक यूज किया है, राइट। आपने सेम ईमेल के लिए एक नया लिंक जनरेट कर लिया, मान लो ये तो मेरे पास ओल्ड एक्टिवेशन लिंक, मैं सिंपल लिख ले रहा हूँ, लेट्स गो विद ओल्ड लिंक, ये था मेरे पास ओल्ड लिंक, ठीक है। नाउ लेट्स जनरेट अ न्यू वन। मान लो मुझे न्यू लिंक मिला कुछ ऐसा, लाइक न्यू, से मॉडिफाई करते हैं थोड़ा सा, यहाँ पे है कुछ 1 2 3 4 5 6, राइट। मुझे मिली यहाँ पर कुछ ऐसी वैल्यूज, मेरा लिंक बिल्कुल डिफरेंट है इस बार, लाइक GHFP, right, then go with the hyphen here, let's change this one as like TTTT, just change this one as like YYYYY, right। अब अगर मैं यहाँ पर इस नए लिंक, मुझे नया लिंक मिला है एक्टिवेशन के लिए, बट उसके बावजूद अगर मैं पुराने लिंक से अकाउंट को एक्टिवेट कर पा रहा हूँ, या फिर मैं पुराने लिंक से पासवर्ड को रिसेट कर पा रहा हूँ, आपने एक पासवर्ड रिसेट कर दिया एक बार, अब दोबारा रिसेट कर पा रहे हो, दैट वाज द वल्नरेबिलिटी। आप अगर नए लिंक जनरेट होने के बाद अगर पुराना लिंक यूज कर पा रहे हो, दैट वाज आल्सो अ वल्नरेबिलिटी। आप अगर पुराना रिसेट पासवर्ड का लिंक यूज कर पाते हो तो रिसेट योर पासवर्ड, वो भी एक वल्नरेबिलिटी है। आप अगर सेम ही लिंक से दोबारा पासवर्ड रिसेट कर पाते हो तो वो भी एक वल्नरेबिलिटी है, राइट। आपको वो चीजें भी टेस्ट करनी होती है हमेशा, क्योंकि एक्टिवेशन लिंक, रीसेट लिंक्स भी आपको बहुत बार टेस्ट करने होते हैं, बहुत बार नहीं, हमेशा ही करने होते हैं खैर वैसे तो, राइट। यू हैव टू टेस्ट दीज थिंग्स एज वेल। तो फॉर एक्टिवेशन मुझे मिला ये लिंक यहाँ पर थ्रू माय ईमेल एड्रेस, इसे करते एक बार के लिए ओपन, एंड वी गॉट हियर, लेट्स एक्टिवेट आवर अकाउंट। Account activated, start streaming, go to dashboard. This was your basic dashboard for your crash test security, right? Now if you go back here, just create a new scan, and you can go with your API, or you can go with your web applications here, right? I'm testing for the web application here, just go with the continue. Again you can go with multiple page application, or if you have a single page you can go with a single page here, right? Just go with multiple page, continue again, just go with your name as like I'm going with my first scan. Description, this is not my domain, right? Go with protocol from these two, I'm going with HTTP, going with test php.vulnerweb.com, and go with continue here. Then select a scan type. If you own that domain, you have to prove your ownership. They will simply give you a txt record and you have to add that txt record on your DNS. After adding the txt record, they will verify your ownership and only then you can scan for all these things. Otherwise, you can only scan for these basic things, right? अभी के लिए just because I'm not the actual owner, just go with the basic quick scan and go with create. Let's start the scan here. And they will automatically start your scan, right? And you can see the progress through this progress graph easily. So crawling was disabled. All these vulnerability scans were disabled here, right? They will only test for these four things: fingerprinting, SSL certificates part, simple basic headers, and the open ports, and that's all, right? On the other hand, you go with the Qualys. My scan was still running. Just go with the scan tabs here, and my scan was running. You can see the status, right? If I go with the MSF version, my scan has completed. And if I go with the results, I got errors and errors and errors. 404, we got some 200 as well for this one, right? You can go with these things. Otherwise, we have some options there for the reports. There is the option for the report, like export, show data, no, 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 overview. We have the option for the report, the discovery, one whole. रिजल्ट भी गायब है यहाँ पे. सिर्फ ट्रोलिंग के रिजल्ट्स मिले हैं मुझे यहाँ पर, स्कैनिंग के रिजल्ट्स नहीं मिले. Top all tasks, it's still running maybe. No, still not running. So it scan again, web scan, go back. 0 vulnerabilities were identified by my particular Metasploitable Pro version. Okay, we got 5 forms out there. We got 58 pages here, but we got 0 vulnerability, right? And we got a report. On this particular report tab, you can go with the report here. This was a particular report from your MSF Pro version, right? The basic scans results here, which contain basic definitions, and nothing else was here. No, because we don't get any vulnerability. That's why we don't have anything in our report. But again, you can also analyze your reports through this report tab here, right? And if you go with web applications here, you can go with this test again, or you can create a new test. Audit web apps and username. No, I'm not going with the audit. Let's go with auditing this time. Still we have 0 vulnerability. But again, you can use the MSF Pro to identify the vulnerability. This time we got 2 vulnerabilities. Okay, that's good. Still working. In the meantime, let's go with our Nessus here. Okay, Nessus has been perfectly installed. After installation, this was a basic user interface for the Nessus. And my trial will expire in 6 days on June 12th. Not a problem. We can use this one for 6 days. And you can perform as much scans as you want in those 6 days, right? After 6 days, again, you can just change your license. And that's all. Just change your license. Then just add your target here. I'm going with test PHP. And just you can add multiple targets as well. So we'll submit and they will know DNS records, discovering host, select this one and run a scan, right? It will automatically start a scan for you. But if you go with the basic dashboard here on my scan page, you can automatically, or you can create a page here. Let's see if I want to go with, if I want to create a new scan, just go with this new scan button here, and then you can scan for all these things one by one. Again, it depends on the version you are using. It depends on the license you are using, right? Some of the scans were restricted for the free version. Some of them are available for the pro version, and some of them were also blocked for your trial version, right? Doesn't matter you are using the trial version for the professional or the what they call it, organization level or simple free version. Doesn't matter. But if you're using the free level, if you're using the free trial part, that will always disable mobile device scan, right? So you can scan for different things out there, and one of them was your application test. Let's go with this one. Just add your name. I'm going with my first scan again. Just type description. This is my first scan. Go with the folder. Add your target as test PHP, web.com, and then go with live results, right? Then you have basic other scheduling options as well. If you want to schedule your scan, you can schedule. Like say I want to perform scans daily, right? My scan will start at this time, and this was my time zone here, and basic other things were also there. Repeat day, right? And then we have basic notification options. Like if you want some notifications, you can go here. The notification part, we have basic discovery options here. What kind of scans you want to perform? Like which scan, which ports you want to scan. Let's say I want to scan all the ports, port scanning, all the ports, right? And then after discovery, we have basic assessment part. Let's say scan for all web application vulnerability, quick or complex. We have two things there. Quick will only scan for common vulnerabilities, but complex will scan for almost all the vulnerabilities. Let's go with the complex, and then go with report part. We can cover our report here, and then we have basic advanced options here for the bandwidth options we have here, like scan for low bandwidth links, right? After these things, just go with scan, and it will automatically start your scan here. My first, my basic network scan was running here. So not my name. Yeah, this was my first scan, right? Okay, after adding the scan, you have to launch the scan. For the launch, you can go with this launch button here. So to start or to run the scan, we can go with this launch button here directly. Just launch the scan, and now it will give you results, right? And the results will be completely live. Just open this one here, and the vulnerability will be listed out here. And it's using GBSS version 3.0 for the vulnerability scan, right? So you can use Nessus, you can use MSF Pro, you can use Polish, you can use Crash Test, you can use Nikto, you can use Nmap, you can use MSF simple free version, you can use WP scan. You have again different scanners which you can use. And if you want to use the Acunetics, then you have to download the crack version. I have downloaded the crack version, but it's not working. That's why I can't show the Acunetics here because it's not working, right? So this was your basic vulnerability scanners here. If you have any question, if you have any doubt in this part, then you can ask me. But you have to try all these scanners by your side. You have to try all these scanners by your side, right?